I never thought I would be someone who could get in shape without a gym. I've always believed that in order to see real results, you needed a gym membership, the fancy equipment, and the motivation that comes from being around other people who are also working on their fitness. But that all changed one day when life threw me a curveball. It was a typical Tuesday morning, and I was getting ready for my usual routine. Grab coffee, rush to work, hit the gym after hours, then collapse on the couch at the end of the day. I was stuck in a cycle, and I didn't even realize it. That was until I got a call from my boss. The call itself was mundane, an update about a project at work, but the timing was pivotal. You see, when my boss told me that my role would be remote for the foreseeable future, something clicked in my head. I wasn't going to have the same structured routine anymore. The commute was gone. The gym was no longer a daily possibility. I had no excuse to not prioritize my health, but I had no idea how to get into shape without the gym. The thought of doing bodyweight exercises alone, with no gym equipment, seemed impossible. Could I really stay fit just at home? Was that even possible? I was determined to find out. So, I started researching, trying to figure out how to get in shape from home. I read articles, watched YouTube videos, and even joined a few online fitness groups. What I learned surprised me. There were plenty of ways to work out without fancy gym equipment, and the best part was that most of these exercises didn't even require a lot of space. I could do them in my living room, on the balcony, or even in the hallway. I could still see results if I worked hard enough. The next step was to commit to a new routine, one that fit into my new life. I had to be creative, and I had to make fitness a priority. I realized that the biggest hurdle was not the equipment, it was finding the discipline to stick with a routine when the gym wasn't there to force me to show up. So I began making small changes that would slowly add up. I started with bodyweight exercises. Push-ups, squats, lunges, planks, you name it. I watched tutorials and followed simple routines. The first week was tough. I'd be out of breath after just a few minutes. My arms ached after a set of push-ups. I was reminded of just how much I had neglected my health. But I didn't let that discourage me. I kept going. Every day, I pushed myself just a little bit more. The next breakthrough came when I incorporated yoga into my routine. I've always been the type of person who thought yoga was just stretching, but once I tried it, I realized how much of a full-body workout it truly is. Not only did it help with flexibility and balance, but it was also great for strengthening muscles I hadn't realized were weak. And the best part? It gave me mental clarity. With everything happening in my life, working from home, feeling isolated, and trying to figure out how to make everything work, yoga helped me clear my mind and focus. One thing I had to learn quickly was how to set realistic goals. At first, I was frustrated when I couldn't do as many push-ups as I had hoped, or when my yoga poses weren't as deep as I wanted them to be. But then I remembered something important: this was a process, not a sprint. It was about small improvements, not perfection. So, I stopped comparing myself to the fitness influencers I saw online. Instead, I focused on my own progress. Every time I did one more push-up than the day before, I celebrated it. Every time I held a plank for just a few seconds longer, I counted it as a win. As I settled into my routine, I started feeling stronger, more energetic, and more confident. I was amazed at the changes I was experiencing, and it wasn't just physical. Mentally, I felt sharper. I was more productive in my work, and I found that I had more energy to do the things I loved, like reading, cooking, and spending time with friends. The routine had turned into a lifestyle, and I loved it. But then, another challenge came my way. My body had adapted to the exercises I was doing, and I began to feel like I wasn't being challenged enough. I knew I needed to push myself further if I wanted to continue improving. That's when I decided to get creative with my workouts. I looked around my apartment and realized I could use household items as makeshift equipment. A sturdy chair could serve as a bench for tricep dips, a backpack filled with books could be used as a weight for squats, and even a towel could help me do resistance exercises. It wasn't about spending money on a fancy set of dumbbells, it was about using what I had and making it work. One of my favorite things to do was high-intensity interval training, HIIT. These short bursts of intense exercise followed by brief rest periods were incredibly effective, and they didn't require much space. I do circuits of exercises like jumping jacks, burpees, mountain climbers, and high knees, all while keeping my heart rate up. HIIT workouts became my go-to because they were challenging, quick, and efficient. I could fit them in on days when I didn't have much time but still wanted to get a good sweat going. As the months went on, I started seeing noticeable changes in my body. I lost weight, toned my muscles, and felt more energized than I had in years. What surprised me the most was that I actually looked forward to working out. It wasn't a chore anymore, it had become a part of my day that I looked forward to. I'd wake up early to get a workout in before work, or I'd do a quick 20-minute circuit during my lunch break. But it wasn't just about how I looked, it was about how I felt. I felt stronger, more confident, and more connected to myself. I felt like I had taken control of my life in a way I hadn't before. I had learned that staying fit wasn't about a fancy gym membership or equipment, it was about making the decision to take care of yourself, no matter where you are. At this point, I realized something incredible. I had achieved something that I thought was impossible. I had gotten in the best shape of my life, all without stepping foot in a gym. And not only had I done it, but I had also learned to love the process. The commitment to fitness, the consistency, and the creativity I had put into my workouts had paid off in ways I couldn't have imagined. Now, I'm not saying that it's always easy. There are days when I feel unmotivated, and there are days when I don't want to do a thing. But I've learned to push through those moments, knowing that consistency is what leads to results. And if you're reading this and thinking, I don't have time to go to the gym, or I can't afford fancy equipment, know that you don't need those things. You don't need to step outside your door to get fit. You just need the right mindset and the willingness to start. If I can do it, someone who was once skeptical about working out at home, can get into shape and see real results, then so can you. It's all about finding what works for you, being creative, and staying consistent. And trust me, when you look back after a few months, you'll be amazed at the progress you've made. The best part? You don't even need to leave the house.